Call this meeting to order. Madam Chair, Nelly Soto,
Present.
Councilor Valley,
Present.
Chief McNamara, Chief Toto, present. DPW Director Patrick Bauer, not here. And then you may introduce yourself. Perfect. All right. Call the acceptance of the agenda as it is.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Perfect. Review the committee at charge, enhance public safety, prevent hazards, and coordinate proactive interventions. What did I do? Oh, I'm sorry. I just got out of school. I'm sorry. Is there any public participation? All right. Seeing none. The first of timeline and reporting expectations. As I always say, please let me know a few days before I have to put the agenda up. If you have anything you want to put on the agenda, everybody has done that. I appreciate that. Also, I hope any directors or chiefs that cannot attend this meeting, please send an email saying that you can't. That would be greatly appreciated.
If I may, Mr. Chair, thank you
Yes,
for the opportunity. Chief Toto did call me particularly and say he was not going to be present today, and that if there was anything on the agenda that needed his attention to please reach out directly, but I don't see there is one. So I took that liberty. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Yep, perfect. Okay, old business, safety along the rail trail discussion. So me and Councilor Valley had a meeting with the mayor and basically the whole economic department over vacation break with Chief McNamara. We discussed issues about the rail trail and how we can get projects down there going. Since then, I really haven't heard anything. But one of the things I want to be brought up, I did get a hold of someone in the Department of Transportation that will be working with us in the future due to having the mural down at the rail trail. They're willing to, we have to make sure we introduce anything that we want to draw underneath that tunnel so they can approve it. Also, if we want cameras and lights down there, we could also go through them. We just have to show a plan how we're going to do it. Basically one big package deal. They're willing to, her name is April. She's willing to come to one of these meetings either by Zoom once we kind of know what we're doing. So I've already got a hold of someone from the Department of Transportation. Another issue that we brought up at that meeting was power down there. I guess we can't fully get power. So I'm waiting on the mayor or department, DPW Director Patrick Bauer to do something with National Grid. I haven't heard any updates. If they're having trouble with that, I'm happy to make those phone calls. Because if I'm able to get Department of Transportation on the phone, I'm pretty sure we can get National Grid on the phone. Another thing I have also looked at, I did go out and look at 3 vendors because in that meeting as well, the mayor wanted me to go and see if I could get sponsorships for lighting. I went out and looked at 3 vendors. They also said to me, I am better off going through the municipality. So I've let the mayor know, and he says he does have vendors. So I'm still waiting for him to respond to that for me. I've actually put out for the memorial portion of it how much those plaques would cost. And we might have to go another route because some of those big brass plaques cost about $10,000 a piece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I've also went out to grants and you could fund those, especially lighting. I've contacted grant, especially restoring or any of those historical districts. But a lot of them require either you putting it all up and then you get reimbursed, or put 30% down and 70% they'll take the rest to complete the project. So again, I'm looking at the mayor's office to kind of direct me because I'm putting everything in front of him. So I really don't have much to say on other than that. But the last thing I have in my notes is that we talked. Yes. Yeah. Please, can you state?
I have a question, Council Chair. When it comes to the lighting, how much is the total cost for?
So we really don't know. That some vendors, because I talked to, said, well, depending on how many you want, how many you need, where the footage is, like that's something that I also want to talk to Pat Bauer about. Because if we do 5-10 feet, that's a totally different. But like some could go up to 1.5 million or 800,000. Like there's different quotes. Because I just don't know. But if it's a municipality, they might say, well, because we work with a municipality, they're willing to give us. I can't state that because I don't know from the municipality perspective.
Can that be done within stages, or does it have to?
I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If we could do it all at once, great. They say do it separate, just so we can move it along, then great. I'm willing to do all that. But like I said, I'm putting all this together. That's kind of where I'm trying to figure out what I can do now to move it forward. Another issue we brought up in the meeting was there used to be a path, which Chief McNamara knows about, where it went from the police station down to the rail trail, but it wasn't much of a path. I actually want to make a path, like an asphalt sidewalk going down there. That would lead out to the street. Chief would know more about how we could do it. But that is, yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm very much familiar with the path. It's still there, but it's largely overgrown. There's been a number of trees that have fallen across it. It's not able to be utilized currently. I support what you're trying to accomplish there. I think that people would probably feel safe parking in the public parking area of the police department and making their way to that wonderful community resource we have with that walking path. So the only concern that we have is right now the path kind of spills out right into our secure parking lot. So we just want to extend that pathway up a little higher, so it would spill out into like the public parking area of the police station. But very much in support of that, and we appreciate that proposal.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So what we really need to do, and as I said to the mayor, how much it would cost to make a path, like a permanent path down there, because I don't want it just to be like continuously be grown. I want a permanent path, asphalt, to go down there so people can walk down. Because like I said, I feel like a lot of people that I've talked to, I said, have you utilized the rail trail? And a lot of people that I've talked to, they go, I'm going to be honest with you, do not go down there. Because once you go to the either side of it, there's really nowhere to go. There's like a few businesses around there that you could maybe turn off, but still it's mostly like fenced in, because there's people's backyards that go up against it. And when it's dark down there, it's just not utilized enough. And we're trying to get that downtown developed. That's a major asset to us. And I say, if we can make it safe, to me, to make it safe, I feel like people would use it more. And yes, madam.
If I may, and I don't mean to cut you off,
No.
Mr. Chair. Personally, I've never been on the rail trail myself. If this committee, or if we could walk it when the weather gets better, I don't foresee that this is going to happen within the next month, so that I could have a better visual and potentially we could maybe video a little and put it on our council Facebook page just for the public, so that when we're having these discussions, I'm more of a visual learner. I can actually give you constructive feedback. Because if right now, when you mention overgrown pathway, I'm thinking, if it was a sanctuary, isn't that conservation? Do they have to be involved? Will we even be able to pave it? Like, those are all questions that come up. But I guess if I see it physically, I'd have a different understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be a friendly request.
Yep.
of-
Absolutely.
committee,
Once
Mr. Chair.
it gets, yeah, once it gets better weather, we could definitely go down there.
Thank you.
Because I only see it from the distance and from where the path used to be. But, and again, I don't know if you're right, conservation, but as I said in that meeting I brought, because that was one of the issues someone said to me, well, it is a bird sanctuary and you shouldn't be running paths. We don't know if we could run a path. But I said it was funny because 3 weeks prior I was in Florida visiting my parents and I went through a bird sanctuary and guess what? It had paths. So and those were big sanctuaries compared to the sanctuary we have. So when we had that discussion, I go, I don't think that's the issue. Because wouldn't you want people to be able to go through the bird sanctuary to kind of see the birds that are in there? So that, you're absolutely right. And what type of bridge, if there might be a bridge that needs to be built, you could look at all those options. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there's another issue with the rail trail. I received this email. The group met on Monday, and it is regarding the depot overhang. There's an ownership issue there. Yeah, yep. They said like one side belonged to BFW and the other one to the laborers union, but they don't want to do the repairs, and it's basically falling apart. I have the pictures. So I don't know what can be done beside an eminent domain. I sent an email to the mayor and I CC the city solicitor. I didn't receive an answer on that to see how we can resolve that issue because they can't obtain grants because of the ownership issue.
So it says it was owned by VFW.
BFW is on the northern part and the laborers union on the southern part.
Yeah.
So and they are not in agreement with the repairs or doing any type of
So I don't want to go on record to talk about, but there was rumors that when the VFW got that portion, it was so they can expand their parking lot or something like that. There's so many stories about that depot, about ownership and deeds and titles and being passed. So yeah, we could talk about that. How? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to request of you, Mr. Chair, if you could have, did you say it was a rail trail committee, club?
a meeting that was the library Monday at 7 p.m. I
Okay.
couldn't attend, but they sent me the minutes.
But is it an organization or is it the?
I believe, I need to find out, but they apply for grants, so I
Yeah.
believe they are organized.
So
Yes.
the Rail Trail Alliance.
Yeah, the Rail
Yeah,
Trail
so
Alliance.
the-
Yeah.
They could come here, Mr.
Yep.
Chair.
Yep.
You could ask them to explain to us, because if we're going to be looking at a project there and we can't really do anything because they own the northern and the southern part, then this is a moot point.
Well, no, they don't own. So what they do, so I've already met with them.
Okay.
Prior. They're kind of a group of people that really just take care of the rail trail.
No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
what Councilor Valley just stated is that there's ownership issues on the rail trail per se. The northern part is owned by one.
The depot.
Depot overhang.
Yeah.
That's that's why we need a vision.
Yeah. So you know.
Pictures, I can.
Yeah, the
Okay.
depot right near the VFW, the old train
Okay.
station.
One side belongs to the union and another
Yeah.
one to the BFW.
You're mine.
Oh, mine. Sorry.
So that's. I will follow up with everything, and so the next meeting, hopefully, we could have more people come, and I will reach out to the Rail Trail Alliance if you want to. That's all right with me as well.
Okay.
And then we can move forward. Next item is hydrant stakes on every fire hydrant. How you doing? If you just want to.
Felix Garcia, Deputy Director, Public Works.
So quick question.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
the ADA director's here. If she could also introduce herself, because I know you
Oh, I'm sorry.
just out of courtesy.
Yeah.
Hi,
Thank
Sandy Almonte, ADA Coordinator.
Thank you.
Quick question before we move on. So Director Bauer was supposed to reach out to National Grid regarding the rail trail for power. Is there any update that he told you?
I'm not sure if he got in contact with National Grid, but internally we are working on it. So we tasked this to our GIS specialist. He's going to lay out potential locations of where we could put lighting, and then we're gonna do like a quick cost estimate of this project. And then once we have that, then we have to see what the number says. Because if it's something very substantial, then I don't think it makes any sense to talk to National Grid. So I think it's first see how much it will be, and then we could make a decision from there.
Do we know when we will know that cost estimate?
I'm not sure, but what I could do is I could see where we at with this effort and see what's the time frame for it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So the next item is hydrant stakes on every fire hydrant. Last meeting, we also talked to Director Bauer about this. I know you guys do it every springtime. Me and Councilor Drew is planning on doing like an Earth Day in the communities. So one of the ideas that I think we should do is that during these cleanups, we can go around with people to put stakes in the fire hydrants if you guys can get them done at that time. If that time frame works for you all, we'll give you an exact date when we're doing it. But I feel like that would be the perfect time to go and start doing that as well, because we're going to be going by these fire hydrants. So if we see a fire hydrant without a stake, we could just put them in for you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do we have the inventory of how many hydrants need a stake? Do you have the inventory, like how many?
Say that
Needs
again,
it-
please.
Do you have an inventory? How many hydrants needs the stake? Do we
So-
know, like what is the location and how many?
So we have inventory of all the fire hydrants here in the city of Methuen. We do have there's a good amount of hydrants that has like a flag, like a rebar, and has like a flag that lets people know that there's a hydrant there. Now, in terms of stake, is this like a wooden stake that we're talking about? Because I'm a little
If I
confused
may,
there.
Mr. Chair. So last meeting, what I understood, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the director stated that they have to actually twist the cap off and then put the bar in. So that's the one we're talking about that stands up. So that's not something we can do, I believe, because it has to be.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to
Yep.
remind
Yep.
you.
So
yeah.
if it's the rebar, it's it's not expensive to do. So we could order more and we could install the I guess you could call it a rebar. It's not really a rebar, but it's almost the same material. But we could install that, and from my understanding, it's not expensive to do.
And thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, that's because I totally forgot about that part because we were thinking about doing that event and we were just trying to be more productive for all of you. But yeah, if you have to twist it off and we don't have the tools for that, then I'm not going to have people volunteering trying to pull off fire hydrants. But yes, please let me know when you guys are going to start doing that. That'd be greatly appreciated.
We'll do.
Third item is camera in the Great Hall discussion. Councilor Valley.
Yes, the cameras have been installed. As you can tell, we have 2 cameras 360 degrees, thanks to Mr. Santiago and his team. So
Excellent.
that's all set. That can be removed
that.
from the agenda.
That was in 2 weeks?
Yep.
That's what happens when
He's the
people work
best.
together. And it's great. And I did reach out to Mr. Santiago. He's actually coming back from the baseball classic.
Oh, yeah, he was in Florida.
So
yeah.
he said he was going to try and make the meeting, but I was like, understandable if you can't. So,
Yeah.
but I did put that call to him.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business, traffic light on Pleasant Valley Street going on to 213 near the old Walgreens. So this has been an issue of mine since I was young and never understood it. So when you're coming from up here, right, from up there to that intersection, when it turns green to go left, the other side is also green. So it causes like possible accidents. So my question is there any way that if they're going left onto 213, that we can set that light to be red and then go?
So I'm going to turn it over to my subject matter expert here, Officer Steve Hayden, who's been following this issue for many years, like yourself. He'll get you up to speed.
So you're talking about the ones here, Pleasant Street at 213, on Pleasant Street, not the major intersection at Jackson Street and Howe Street. You're talking about the first one, when cars are taking a left onto 213 eastbound on-ramp. So those are state lights. Those are state-owned lights, along with the next intersection up, which is the Jackson Street, Howe Street, Pleasant Valley Street intersection. Those are state-run lights. I've been in contact with the Jeff Borelli over at the electrical department here at the city, and they've been trying to get a hold of Mass DOT. So that intersection, along with the major intersection and the one by 213 on-ramp by the on-off ramp by the westbound side, and the Washington Street, which are our lights, we need to get together with Mass DOT, or the city needs to get a hold of Mass DOT and put in some recommendations how we need to adjust some of these traffic lights. So we don't have the authorization to just go into their computer controlled boxes and make any changes. So we definitely have to get a hold of Mass DOT, whether it's the mayor's office, to try to get it pushed through faster, and get with our department here that controls the lights, that are, you guys still control all those traffic lights over there, that are not state-owned lights, and we can come up with a game plan how to make some adjustment to these traffic lights. I know I've dealt with Mass DOT, and a lot of their stuff is built to certain specs, and if you correct me if I'm wrong, and if it's running the way it's up to the specs, then they're good with it. So if there's anything that we need to make adjustments, we have to probably have some kind of meeting with them in the future to get these adjusted.
So I just wanted to ask through you, Mr. Chair, to DPW, and maybe you as well. So when that request is made, whether it's the mayor's office or DPW, right, to MassDOT, they send the recommendation, but they adjust it. It doesn't have to do with our. Am I confused by?
No, you're not confused. What it is we can only control the traffic lights that the city of Methuen owns.
Okay.
When MassDOT has their own traffic boxes, which are those big cabinets on the side of the road,
Yeah.
they control their own. Sometimes we all have access to them just in case of emergency, but they control the way the setup and the timing is for their lights.
Okay.
So
they have to change it, not us.
they're controlled lights, correct? Because it's built to their
that was
specs.
the clarification.
Yes.
Not like this. Could you give us a recommendation and then we change them? No, they change them. Okay.
What we could do though, as City of Methuen, we could send concerns to District 4, which is the jurisdiction for when it comes to the state here in Massachusetts. We could let them know that at this particular intersection, there's issues. There's a concern here. Could there be an assessment of it? Could there be improvements? And one of them would be, I've seen it in other places where what they will do is if a person wants to take a left, they will leave it green and then a red light for the motorist at the other side, and then the people could take a quick left, and eventually it'll change from green to a blinking yellow, kind of saying yield, and then it will go green for the opposite traffic. So then they'll start going. They could still take a left if there's no cars nearby. But I seen that, which I think it works well. But again, we will have to first approach Mass DOT District 4, say, hey, this is what's going on. It's been going on for a long time, and we want to have a discussion and see what can be done at this particular intersection.
Yeah, I'm just coming home today because people were taking that left to go on. They thought I was running the light because I could see them going, what are you doing? And it's like, no, I have a green light. And so that to me, I just feel like that's just an accident waiting to happen. And I don't even know how many accidents have had happen over there due to that. I don't know if there was ever traffic studies done.
we've had many accidents in that intersection. I'm not going to sit here and say we don't. There are plenty of accidents, cars taking the left-hand turn. So Felix is correct. We can get a hold of Mass DOT District 4. I believe Sarah Timmons, she's in charge of that district now. We can ask them to come in and assess it, but obviously to do what he's asking, there'd have to be new equipment put up on the poles and stuff. So that's going to be something that the state would have to pick up. They're not going to allow us to put equipment onto their poles, their traffic light poles. So there'd probably be an equipment thing. And I think we're better off trying to get a hold of them, have them come in and talk to this and tell them our concerns about certain intersections, because it's multiple intersections over there that we can actually use them for right now, because I can use them for that one, the large intersection at Pleasant Valley Street in Jackson, and the one over the bridge at the off-ramp westbound on 213, getting on and off the ramps there. There's some issues there in the morning. It's backing up. People are running red lights. My other concern is over there and you're right, other stuff, there used to be signage, no left turns. And I think that even though that's DOT stuff, but even some of our own roads, while you think in those intersections, we need to get the company in here to actually put the thermal paint down on these grounds and have a company come in. I think a lot of it's pavement marking stuff too that we can use that need to be done and updated throughout that intersection and some others throughout the city too.
But even if they just hold the red light for a little bit while people turn, because I saw an accident, it happened just right in front of me. One is 2 lanes, so the first lane stopped, but the second lane continued. So it was, someone just hit the car right in the middle. So I think that if they just hold the light, if they don't want to change the equipment, just hold the light to be red until someone turns, and then the people who are turning, then it turns red again, a few seconds just to.
And they could probably put a sign that says, motorists yield to incoming traffic. So they know that they're coming. So because it's just confusion. So if it could be a little more clear even with signages, I think it will help out.
Awesome. Okay, the next is resolution supporting the Willett family and adopting Methuen's proclamation of Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. So the reason why I put this on the agenda, I grew up with the Willett family, and I know the whole family. It'll be 3 years ago this year that their son was killed by a driver that was texting and driving and hit him while he was on his motorcycle. And they reached out to me because the mom's actually been out advocating for what is called Austin's Voice, trying to make sure that people are aware that distracting drivers need to be paying attention more on the road. So they asked me to draw up a proclamation that May could be its national awareness for, I just want to make sure, Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. So I'm asking my fellow councilors here to support this resolution and sake of a family that I grew up with that, is going for a good cause. And then hopefully on April 6th, they will come, not for the next meeting, April 6th, we'll have the family come here. Hopefully the mayor said he's already co-sponsoring this. So I appreciate that. And hopefully on April 6th, we could have the family come and have the full council approve it. So, yes. Yep. Oh, yes, I am. Council.
I would like to make a friendly amendment.
Yes.
It should read City of Methuen instead of Town of Methuen.
I know.
So first of town and.
I am. So do I have a second for the amendment?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, perfect. Now, if anybody else has a discussion?
I do.
Yes.
So thank you for the background on the proclamation. Now, my question is to Methuen Police Department. When proclamations like this are passed, does the department look at any resources, if any, or where they can tap in, example, the Edward J. Steele Fund, to bring out education regarding safety around motorcycles for the sake of this conversation, to make it more productive, not just a paper we're passing and for the month of.
Sure. We work with a PR firm, Guilfoyle Associates, and interestingly enough, the mayor, I believe, recently signed a contract with Guilfoyle as well, and they're very skilled with messaging, and they can help us amplify that very worthy message and make sure it gets to all the ears it needs to. And we can do our own supplementing in terms of selective enforcement and a campaign to enforce the laws, rules, and regulations as they relate to motorcycles.
Awesome.
So I'd like to see this proclamation have some sort of stipulation in there that would trigger that the police department have access to the funding for educational purposes. I don't know how that wording would be added here. That way, this is for the month of May. So, for example, every year we'll know that the Methuen Police Department will apply for XYZ amount of dollars to educate on on motorcycle safety.
So you brought up just some of the crashes for distracted driving. April, we received grant money through the traffic, to the state, the feds, for April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. And then we have grant money that officers get hired to go out and enforce, distracted driving, which is, text messaging, cell phone use, and all that stuff. So we will be out next month. We do have a grant that is for distracted driving also. So,
Okay.
And when officers, when we stop the vehicles for distracted driving, we can, advise them how important it is since the springtime in motorcycles and other people, pedestrian traffic picks up, and that they need to pay more attention. And that will be enforced during the month of April. And we do have that grant coming up.
So to go off of your point, Counselor Soto, I actually agree with you on this. I think maybe I'm trying to figure it out too right now as I'm in the middle of this meeting. Maybe we can put somewhere that an agreement of this proclamation, and maybe have the counselors also sign it as well, to say that we want the police department to go out and do education and I don't know, this is my 3 months in, you would know more than this.
So that's why and through you, Mr. Chair, to the chief, that's why I asked, because I don't want to also impose, not that this is not a great thing, I'm just saying, if we don't have if you're already receiving funding for distracted drivers, which is the other fence of why this happened, but there's also education on the motorcycle end. Like, could we get you dollars from this fund or from the city to say, because we passed this proclamation, let's talk about motorcycle safety. So for example, I don't drive a motorcycle, right? So, but I drive a bike, I ride a bike. So I know if I'm going to be driving my bike, I go opposite to traffic. That's what I was taught as a kid. So I could actually see the vehicle. So I'm just putting that as an example, but what I'm saying is how can it just not be a paper and we could also not burden you? And that's not the right word, but do you catch my drift?
I think your friendly amendment should essentially encourage that and trust that we're going to do the right thing. When you tell us, you encourage us to do a particular thing, I promise you we're going to overturn every stone to get it done.
The education piece. See what he says.
So actually, I'm on the motor unit. I'm sorry. I'm on the motor unit here for the city. So we've also added some new ones. So we have 6 motorcycles of our own here. So once the weather breaks and the sand and stuff is starting to, and we know there's no ice, we can get our motors out on the road, and we can interact with other motorcycle operators. If we see them, park somewhere or stopping them, or, when we pull them over and just say, hey, just going to be more careful, especially with the distracted driving is coming up. Most people that ride motorcycles now, and I speak to them, whether I'm working or we go down to Harley Davidson to get our bike service at Seacoast, we talk to them, and a lot of them are aware of, the safety precautions that they need to take, especially with the more vehicles on the roadway, pedestrians, people not paying attention on the road. So I think having our motors out on the road and interacting with other motorcycle operators will actually play a big role in some motorcycle safety.
Perfect.
Yeah, and also speaking to Mrs. Willett, Drake drew up a proclamation like this a couple of weeks ago. So, and other communities around us have that she's been advocating for. So, and one of the reasons why she wants us to do it because Austin is from the city, and he grew up here. Like I said earlier, I coached him. I played sports with his brother Billy. Their father Jim was my basketball coach. So she's kind of looking at this as, yes, the encourage of the education part. She goes, but if every community is doing this except the city he grew up in, this proclamation, it's just it's kind of more of, but it's good that we're talking about how can we make this mean. And I even told her that on the phone when I talked to her. I said, I want this to be more impactful than actually a paper. So for you, Counselor, for bringing that up, I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to take up? So with that being said, I would like to ask for a vote, but with the friendly amendment of,
Yeah, so if possible, if you could or ask the solicitor to add, encourage the Methuen Police Department to, I don't know if the right word is deploy or use any resources available to educate further on motorcycle safety, if that could be possible.
to promote.
Promote education regarding motorcycle safety or motorcycle safety awareness as part of this proclamation.
Can I get a second with that amendment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. So now back to the main motion with the friendly amendment added.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. And I will add that and send that to the solicitor. Okay, next one is ordinance of utility permits. Councilor Solar.
Thank you.
Take it away.
So I have one of the most common concerns, other than the streets, is, hey, they're breaking up my street. There's a detail outside. I wasn't aware that they were doing this utility work, because it's usually not us. It's electric or Eversource or whatever that may look like, or the pipes that we're putting in. That's also one of them, but mainly National Grid and Eversource. And so I just noticed that Rhode Island this month passed an ordinance that requires the actual utility companies. They already had the ordinance. They updated the ordinance, and it requires them to actually, and I'll read it. Designated. It was designated to address widespread resident complaints about utility companies digging up streets, giving little notice, and leaving the infrastructure damaged. And we've discussed this previously under unaccepted ways. And so I know that, for example, our police officers are on site for detail, usually for these jobs. So they'll get notice, but there's really no way, or the city doesn't have a mechanism as of right now to notify those tenants. But instead, this ordinance brings it back on the utility company to have that responsibility, and it takes it away from us or from the officers. Because as the chief may also remember, we've had conversations where the officers have been excellent at mitigating some of the situations, but you'll have a constituent that has like PTSD in this particular case and is all up in arms about the fact that they have been there since XYZ hour and they're flustered with everything that's happening and they can't even get out of their front door or home. And again, the police officer, the detail was very generous, went on and beyond their scope that day to actually mitigate this for us as a city. but that is one of the most common complaints in the east that I get, and in some other parts of the city, central right now, with all that work. So the purpose of the ordinance is to improve the transparency and coordination when utility work is performed. So this is where I ask you both, where do you see your departments have recommendations on this? It'll reduce the unexpected disruption, okay, for residents and businesses, because as you know, when we do these utility jobs, our streets too, the paving, you have some of these contractors parking right in front of these businesses as well, and then their customers can't have access to the business. That's another common issue. So it ensures, and that the biggest pet peeve of mine personally is, if you break up my street, and I say my, but you know what I mean, the city street, put it back how you found it. And I think that you would agree with me that that usually doesn't happen. And so we can also tweak this ordinance to strengthen the enforcement and accountability for them. So this is where your expertise comes in, because we can mimic what there's in Rhode Island, but you guys will be the ones to determine what's really going to work here in Methuen. So with that being said, do you have, and this is early, this is just for us to discuss briefly today, get thought on paper, look at what they already have, and I'll circulate that to the committee, but maybe 2 meetings out, we can have it ready to go to council.
So not to interrupt you,
Yes.
Councilor Solar. My brother, former Councilor DeZoglio, and at the time was Councilor Beauregard, but Mayor Beauregard actually had an ordinance or something was put in play, but supposedly it was tabled a few years back. I asked the mayor if he could send me a copy. This was a couple of days ago. Plus, emails are still, circulating. We're still working out the kinks of the emails. I can always follow up with that ordinance because I feel like that was a good centerpiece as well.
I believe we were Councilor Valley and I were counselors with that when that was brought to the table, but I believe it was to impose bigger bond requirement I don't think that really solves the issue. I think that the requirements also, like, there's fines implied of, like, in this particular ordinance in Rhode Island, there's $500 a day. If you don't get notified to do the work, you can't start the work. And this is obviously pre-planned. If it's an emergency, you're not going to be held accountable for something that's an emergency. But if it's work that National Grid is breaking up ABC Street, there should be a mechanism of, like, schedule, announcement, and that falls on them, not on us. And so what we're trying to get here is not make it harder for them to do their job as utility companies, but give some relief and have some teeth, relief to the constituent, as all we got to do is communicate. Doesn't that solve a lot of things in life? So that's pretty much it. So, but that ordinance, and by the way, Counselor, you can request that right from your clerks. Okay. They actually have that draft. You don't have to go to the previous counselors. Make sure that before we leave today, you send an email and get that. But I'm very interested in listening to DPW and the police department on that.
No, I totally agree. But the part that you said, when they break up your street, and it's your street, you're paying taxes for that street, and you live on that street, so it's your street. But I believe that was what the ordinance was, because they would break up the street, patch it up, and then it's like that way for the next 10 years, where that bond thing was to basically not pay them until they fix the street, if I'm correct. If I'm correct, that's how it works. Like, that bond is to pay a utility company to do their job. I don't know if so.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just you could. I was just gonna answer, but I don't want to disrupt.
No, I just did some homework, and I know Attleboro, their performance bond is $5,000 for 2 years, and I saw Weston, Mass. Like, if they don't do the repair properly, the city will do the repair and bill the utility company for the job completed. So I don't know if we have that in writing here. I seen another municipalities to have them do like corp to corp, the pay once they finish the job.
Yeah, so if a utility company, let's say if it's a street that's under moratorium, right? We discourage them from doing any excavation now, but if it's an emergency or anything like that, we had to let them do the work. But if it's, let's say if it's a street that we just recently paved, then we let them know, okay, you have to do your thing, but you will have to do a curb-to-curb restoration. So what that means is that they will have to mill, let's say maybe 25 feet from each end, and it has to be the full width of the street. And they will have to mill it, and then they will have to pave it. And any structures they have to adjust it, they will also have to adjust. That's only for moratorium streets, so make sure that it goes the way it was. So that's a policy that we have here in the city of Methuen, and we definitely when they apply for a permit, we first check if the street was recently paved, and if it is, we let them know, all right, this is your permit, and then one of the things that you have to do once you're done, once time passes and the trench settles a little bit, you have to come back and do a curb-to-curb restoration. And if they don't, then we could use the performance bond. We kind of.
How much is the bond?
So
right
it's
now?
typically 5,000. Depending on the project, it's 5,000. It could be utility company. It could also be a person that's constructing a new house too. So they may have a trench for their sewer and water service. So typically it's 5,000. Now if it's a big project, we could increase that from 5,000 to 10,000 and so on. But usually utility companies, they're pretty good. Like let's say there's any issues with a particular trench or excavation, the patchwork, we will call them and let them know, hey, this has settled, the patch has settled considerably. It's causing issues. I need you to come and make a permanent repair, and they will come and do it.
So my quick question, what is you said moratorium?
Moratorium.
Yeah, what is that?
So moratorium is just once we pave a street, there's some cities and towns will have a moratorium saying you can't do anything to this street, you can't dig. It's heavily discouraged unless it's an emergency or unless it's a development. But you let them know, all right, it's under moratorium, but you have to. Moratorium meaning we don't want you to touch it, but if you have to, then you have to do the curb-to-curb restoration. So that's what it means for a street to be on the moratorium. Now, after the 5 years, then if they have to excavate, they will excavate. We don't say it has to be curb-to-curb restoration, but they will have to do a temporary patch, and the following year they will have to come and do a permanent patch. So the temporary patch will settle a little bit, and then a year will come, and then we'll have to come back and do a permanent patch. But this is for non-moratorium streets. And then to answer you, Councilor Soto, so my recommendation is, especially for any planned projects for any utility companies, could be National Grid, Eversource, etc. Any planned projects, let's just use Eversource as an example because they do a lot of work here in the city. It will be for them to provide information. Let's say this is 2026. All right, for next year, what is your planned projects? We want the street and the limits. If we could get that in a GIS format, then we could put that on our GIS and put that on our city website, and we could say, as an example, for next year, 2027, these particular streets, Eversource is planning on doing work there. So at least the public will know, okay, on this year, there's gonna be some utility work. And then if they call, we could try to get more information from Eversource to see when they're gonna start. And then we could also ask, what's the timeline to? And but I also know that Eversource, if it's a planned project, they do. This is what they told me. I don't know if they stopped doing it, but they will send flyers. They won't mail it, but they will post flyers on people's doors, and they will say, on this particular date, we're gonna start work. Now, Is it enough time? It might be like a week or so, week or 2 weeks. It would be nice for them to know a little bit sooner. But from what I was told from Eversource, that they do provide flyers to residents that there's work that's gonna come from them.
So I'm pretty sure when they dug up the street on Central Street where I lived, that was Eversource, and they never put a flyer on our door. So that I know for a fact. And then when they tore it up, and the worst, but I'm gonna say, but that it's also the equipment. They just leave it overnight, and that street on Central Street, you've been probably up there 1,000 times. It's a small street, so they would block it, and then the details would come out and say, well, you guys are gonna move your cars, and we would be like, where you want us to move them? So that's another problem when it comes to the utility companies, not just tearing up the street. There's like, I'm gonna be real about it. They don't care. They leave their stuff all over the place. And that's just my experience up on Central Street, where they left their flatbeds there, and at the end of the day, people gotta come home and they can't squeeze through that corridor. That's the thing. They never put a flyer up saying there's gonna be a work. The only thing we saw was the trees. They would put the sign, no parking between this date and this date, from this time to this time. And we'd be like, well, what's coming up here? Are they doing polls? They're doing whatever. They don't tell us exactly what's happening until they dig up the whole entire street.
Yep.
Last summer, my girlfriend was working at the hospital. She had to get home to change. She couldn't go into work because they blocked both ends of the street. And she goes, well, if I knew what time they were coming, because that was like their first day doing it, and what was happening, that they were going to close the street down, she would have grabbed her clothes and done what she had to do and then go to work. She actually missed a day, which the mayor had to write a letter for her. So I think that's another problem that a lot of people are having with the utility companies. It's not just, it's the responsibility of them getting out to the residents. So that's why I'm just saying, they say they do that, they don't.
That's what they said, and I think they might have started doing that, and then maybe they over time stopped. I'm not sure, but I know that because I think when it was an issue, especially when they were digging up like a lot here in the city, we did, and one of the complaints was we don't know when you guys are gonna start doing work, and we don't even know how long the duration of the project is. So it'll be nice to know. So we let Eversource know that you have to inform the residents that work is coming, so at least they could plan accordingly. And they said to us, yeah, we're gonna provide flyers, we'll let them know, and usually they appreciate that. But that's, I think it starts and then it kind of fades away. So I think we have to, at least for DPW, we would definitely have to remind Eversource, hey, just make sure that anytime there's any planned projects before you start, definitely let the residents know, hey, this is what's gonna come, and the reason why too, that the project has to be done.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Wow,
So
I'm just saying
I
that
know
to
they
her.
have to pull a permit, correct?
Yes, for a planned project, they have to pull a permit, correct?
Okay, so that ordinance states when they pull the permit, there's a requirement, kind of like what we do in zoning, the abutters list, that you have to actually notify that list. So maybe we can implement where when they pull the permit, the next step is that they notify all those people on the street, some sort of proof that has been done. If not, your permit's actually not valid. So it could be also it could be added to that permit process. At least that's what I think would at least help with the notification part. Now, that ordinance also talks about not only restoring the street to what it was originally, but some of these people, in the case where I had spoken with the chief that day, they were actually parked in her driveway, and she had not authorized them to have access to her driveway. So imagine sometimes you're doing work, and because of limited space, they're putting these cones out, but also materials on your lawn. But just because they may be coming back tomorrow or the same week, they'll leave that stuff out. And so you'll see the public will say, oh, they left the cone out for so long that I just kept the cone, just things like that. But in essence, what if any of those things happen, you don't notify or you don't clean up or you don't restore, then your company gets a $500, not that $500 a day to a multi-billion-dollar company is any money. But what I'm saying is now there are requirements in order for you to really get your permit, and there's a fee if you don't come through with what you said you would do. So just keep that in mind. I will circulate that just for some feedback, and maybe we can put it together in a couple meetings.
I think that's a great idea for the utility company like Eversource or National Grid to provide evidence that the abutters in that particular location were notified. I think that's really good. That should be part of the permit process.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on. Ordinance establish handicap parking spots or at the chief.
Sure, thank you. So we took a look at this the last time around, and we've been looking at be it the policy or the custom and practice in our city that these requests have been routed through the police department, and essentially it's been, I have a handicap plate or placard, therefore I'm entitled to a spot in front of my home, and we want to take a second look at that because we've realized that there are so many people that are unfortunately qualify for that are in fact handicapped and do in fact qualify for handicap plates and placards. We simply cannot possibly give every single person that applies their own parking spot, and it's in truth it's not their own spot, as Council Soto just kind of pointed out. If one of these is granted, a handicap spot is granted, it's for anyone who has a handicap placard or plate, right? But we took a look at some other policies, and the most comprehensive one that we could find, as you might imagine, is the City of Boston. And in the City of Boston, somebody with a role like our ADA coordinator, El Monte, would be very much involved. So there's an additional standard so that the policy accounts for, yes, you have a handicap plate or placard, but then you have to go to your doctor and have them fill out some sort of affidavit or attestation that says they'll ask a host of questions that are additional qualifiers. For example, the doctor might answer the question, how many city blocks can the patient walk? Is the patient in need of a medical mobility device, for example? And based on this, on a series of questions and a metric, the person will either qualify or they will not. And that's probably a better way to move forward. And the other thing, these are medical related questions. They're very personal, and most cities and towns don't route these through the police department in that way. I think somebody with Director Almonte's credentials would be better served making that determination. So we'd be happy to work with Sandy on that over the next month or so, and perhaps in the next 30 days we can get back with a draft policy that may or may not be acceptable to this committee, and perhaps there could be one or more of you that kind of work hand in hand with us on it. I know that Council Soto, this has been something that you've been on top of for some time, so we would welcome your input.
Absolutely. That was actually brought up to me in my life feed the other day about how there wasn't enough handicap parking on streets for that, and but a lot of people have talked to me that, like you said, Chief, like my father has a handicap, but he could walk. Is he entitled to getting a spot on the street? I understand exactly where you're coming with that.
So one of the issues that I face almost every day here is that people want their own parking space, and I say it to them over and over: anyone that has a parking plaque can park. This is not your parking space. It's just a handicap or a disability parking space. Anyone, because a lot of people feel, including people have come back here saying, someone else parked in my parking spot. It is, so I come back and I repeat again, this is not your parking space. This is for anyone that has a parking plate, a handicap parking plate. So that's something that people don't necessarily understand. They feel that if it's in front of my house, that's my parking space, and that's not necessarily true. And as you know, we cannot impose a lot of things in, for private space, but we have is one space out of every 25 cars. So even then, when they complain, we only need on our public spaces to have one for every 25 parking spaces. So just in case they ask you.
Anybody else?
So the only other thing that I wanted to throw out there, so potentially we can collaborate with, because there is an ordinance that exists, that the Commission on Disability should be in this conversation. So maybe they're included in this conversation, and then alongside them, we can present it to this committee and then to the council as a whole. Just in case we get to the council floor and they're like, well, this exists and you didn't follow the correct protocol, that would be my only recommendation, that we include them in the workings of this handicap ordinance.
I do have the ordinance here. It is 614 from June 5th, 1997. If you want to take a look at it, and 614, June 5th, 1997.
Look at that. I was 17 years old.
What was it?
1997.
1997. I was 6. I just turned 6.
Great. I wish we had AI on our Methuen.gov site that you could say,
I was still in Boston too. I lived in Boston at the time. So, does anybody else have any questions about this matter? No? Perfect. So, this, to the councilors here, I added this, this kind of brought back to my college days. We always had what we put on our agendas, concerns of constituents on campus, depending on what committees we were on or as a whole. So one constituent, when it came to public safety, said, could traffic lights run on sensors like New Hampshire? So I'm assuming when you approach in New Hampshire, it understands that you're there and the lights change. I'm just want to see if we could do that or without the cost or whatever.
So I'm pretty sure not all the traffic lights in New Hampshire has sensors. Similar to here in Mass, not all traffic lights have sensors. So back in the 90s, even the early 2000s, they will work with a timing clock, and then there was traffic lights that will have sensors, but on the road. Those are good, but eventually they break, and it takes a lot of money to repair them and install a new one. So the new technology is the cameras. It's not really cameras. It's more motion detectors, cameras, so they could see what's the queue. And we have this on Broadway right now. There's a lot of locations here in the city where we have those detectors. And if there's no cars, let's say, example, on Oakland Avenue, let's just say, then the traffic light will stay green for Broadway. This is it's a more busy street compared to Oakland Avenue. Now, when a car approaches on Oakland Avenue, then it'll quickly change. So those are good to have. Now, I think with time we will have sensors at all traffic lights, but it just takes time and it takes money. And so that's the direction that we want to go, because it's just more efficient. Having those throughout the city is, again, time and money.
Is there any grants that involves traffic lights that DPW could look out to kind of get those sensors and move that faster? Because I feel like the concern of every constituent that I've talked to, and including myself that have lived here forever, that we start projects and it moves time, but by the time we finish, new technology comes out, and then we're restarting everything again, and then it takes another 10 years, and it's just the pattern. So what grants should, and again, like I said, if and I've said this now since I've been elected, if people kind of tell me where to look, because I've been looking up grants since I've been elected and finding all these grants, it's kind of hard for me where nobody's tapping into them. Is there because you don't have a grant writer? I know we're looking for a grant writer right now, but in your department, does anybody other than you and probably Pat that know how to write these grants? Because you guys are busy all day. I feel like with all the grants that I've been looking up, it's hard for me to believe that we can't get this money in to move forward with these projects.
There are grants. I think they come up every so often. Typically, we'll get myself and Pat will get emails either from a congressman, congresswoman, and so on, or even the mayor will get them and he'll forward it to us and to economic department. They will get the emails too, and then what we try to do is we try to coordinate and have meetings and see how can we tackle that. So I know Joe Cosgrove he definitely helps us a lot with getting grants with either EPA, Mass DEP, and so on. There's also different programs that the state provides. So there's of course Chapter 90 that we could tap into. There's also, I think, Safe Route to School is another one. You know, if there's an intersection is a route to a school, then yeah, and there's a outdated lights infrastructure, then yeah, we could look into that. So I think we do a pretty good job identifying these certain issues, and of course, time and money. But again, not with technology. Technology is always evolving, so we do our best to catch up. But by the time we do catch up, it's just a revolving door. It's just gonna keep, next thing you know, we won't be using phones no more. We'll be using something else. So I remember we used to watch stuff on the VCR, and what's that now?
Thank you. So moving on, the assignments for the next meeting, I'm going to follow up with DPW, with the National Grid, with what you guys are doing with the lighting. Like I said, I don't know if you were here when we started talking, but I've already talked to Mass DOT about the projects down there, but they request that we have a plan together so they can either approve some of it, most of it, because they own those underneath those bridges. So, and I have projects that I want to go down there and do. Also, we were just talking with the chief, that path that's behind the police station. We kind of want that cleared and see what we could do to make it like a permanent path through the bird sanctuary. But when Councilor Soler made it very clear that she's a visual, which I am too. That's why I've been down there like 1,000 times. But she would like to go and get a visual of it, which we will do. But in the meantime, what can we do to make those little fixes, I think, like making a path, working on getting a plan together for the lighting. Just want to keep moving this project along because a lot of people are involved in it. We have 3 subcommittees working on this project, and we just want to make sure we have the momentum to move this forward. If we can't do it, I'd rather be told that, so then we can find another way to do it. So that's just how I operate. So if we can get that done, that'd be greatly appreciated. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, for, I guess, our assignment, we kind of set it on the floor. We'll connect with the Disability Commission through our director. She'll head the charge, I would say, Chief. And then through you, us, we will be on the same bandwagon.
And also do keep me up there because I would love to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
And whatever I can do, I will.
So I'm going to be looking at, I know the chief sent a link to the Boston policy. So I'm going to be looking at that and then present it to the commission and have them look at it as well. And then I can send it to whatever they have any issues with it. Then we can discuss it and then present it back to this commission.
Awesome. And I will follow up with everybody with the agenda items too, because we have a lot agenda items that we had today, especially with the intersection, stuff like that. Whatever I could do to call. I don't know if it's the same person that I could talk to at Mass DOT, because I have a contact now, April. I don't know if it's the same department, but I could ask and see what I can do with that. But just to keep, because you guys are busy, if I have a free time and I can make a phone call as a counselor, that's my job. So if I can do that, I will. Just tell me what I need to say, and I can do that.
I will follow up with the rail trail. Is it coalition? What do you call it?
Coalition Alliance.
Alliance, yeah. And I will invite them to the next meeting so they can come here and talk about the depot overhang, and we can discuss the route that we can take to get that fixed.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Are you on anything else for the betterment of the community, your last item, or?
I'm all set. Are
Okay,
you all set?
so I have one announcement. I want to thank the Methuen Police Department. I had a call Tuesday morning from a business owner, and they solved the issue that they had within an hour. So I wanted to give kudos, and that was through the deputy chief. So I wanted to thank you and the deputy chief for always jumping when we call, not only as counselors, but as constituents. So I wanted to publicly say that. And then through you, Mr. Chair, announcing that the Chapter 90, I circulated to the council, the MMA meeting for Chapter 90 education, that will also tie into some of these projects. So if anybody can attend those meetings, that would help this committee as well as the Unaccepted Waste Committee. That was all. Thank you.
Great. And yes, please let me know if I can get out of work, I will absolutely attend those. Also, March 21st is our first St. Patrick's Day parade here in Methuen. If you notice outside, everybody, all the flags are up, which I appreciate the DPW doing that. I do appreciate Chief giving the support, the police department. Also, if Chief Toto was here, I would say for the fire department as well. Kickoff is at 12. So I'm hoping for someone that's lived here my entire life, this is a very exciting event for us. And it's something great, which I will give praise to Councilor Drew for being the spearhead of that and then dragging me along with it, because it's not like I have anything else to do, right? But please be out there on that day. Hopefully we have great weather. So with that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. With that, with a vote of aye.
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 Any opposed? Great.
5:30.
And meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
And now I could go to bed because I'm dying.